That is still one of the most impressive partnerships, careers, and just accomplishments that I've personally heard.
Collectively have driven from 0 to 200 million over that period of those 5 companies that I've worked at.
But how did you even get to the point to getting those other cross-functional teams to kind of like let you play in their sandbox? You know what I mean?
Is you see partners that we were working with go from literally 1 employee to 45 employees, 1 employee to 17 employees.
All right, welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked, where we give you guys a front row seat to the strategies driving modern partner-led growth. I'm super excited for my guest today. He has become a friend, someone who I respect greatly. Definitely just so much experience building such incredibly just scalable and powerful partner programs across multiple incredible companies. I don't want to steal his thunder, but I'm super excited to be chatting with Nelson Wang today. Nelson, can you tell everybody a little bit about your storied background in partnerships?
Wow, what an intro. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that. Actually, let me start off by giving an intro to Greg. Greg is an amazing, inspiring person. I see his LinkedIn posts and I get fired up about partnerships. So I just have to say that. Second, I've gone on a actually a baby walk with my newborn with Greg when he came to visit in LA. And that's where I got to know him personally. And I can tell you he's a really great person. So I'm happy to be here to help support with any insights and help today. And I wanted to make sure I kicked off with that intro, Greg.
I
But
appreciate
real
that, my friend.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And then my background is I've been in partnerships for 20 years, so it's been a very long time. Started at the bigger companies, Cisco and VMware, learned the ropes about channel over there, primarily with the resale distribution motions, and then joined Box and built out the partner program from the ground up there. That was with a combination of ISVs, SIs, resellers, distribution, and then went over to companies to build partner programs from 0 to 1 at companies like Toptal, Optimizely, Miro, and most recently Airtable, and collectively have driven from 0 to 200 million over that period of those 5 companies that I've worked at. So that's a quick background.
I mean, I think everyone is on the edge of their seat after that intro. That is still one of the most impressive uh, partnerships, careers, and just accomplishments that I've personally heard. And someone that consistently delivers, I have a ton of respect for at just amazing companies. So I think realistically, we're going to have a second conversation. I can already tell before even jumping into the one, because between all of those experiences, there's probably, it's going to be hard to boil it down to just a few insights, but I know you're going to just drop absolute uh, seeds of wisdom here, Nelson. So let's jump in. Question number one: what is one kind of partnerships play or tactic that you have run, maybe more than once even, that has really just consistently worked very well for you? What have you learned from doing it, and why do you believe that it works so well?
I would call it winning hearts and minds when you first build a partner program. And what I mean by this is you've got to get really deep in the trenches and meet with your customers right off the bat and really understand their journey and their pain points and challenges and play it back to them, right? Use their taxonomy, their language, their tone of voice to make sure you really understand what their journey is like, deeply empathize with them. Because when you do that, then you can map the right partner types to go solve for those pain points. And you know which ones to prioritize because you know the business impact to them. And so that was one of the first things I did at Airtable is I met 60 enterprise customers to really understand what was going on. And when they would play it back to me, you see recurring patterns and themes around what they actually needed. So specifically, one of the common pieces of feedback we got was we need to be able to do workflow discovery, design, implementation, training, ongoing support, change management. And we're willing to engage with a partner to be able to go do those things to be successful to get to the business outcome and build that up on our Airtable as an example. And so by doing that, we were able to hone in very quickly on the partner type, which was what we called an Airtable services partner. And we started to match the customer challenges that we would collect on an intake form. And then we would basically play that back to our partners and then have them basically provide services and they would create these service offerings and packages to go address those specific customer pain points. And then we started to win. So I would be in the trenches, be on those sales calls, help them present it, get to the actual close of the deal. And when we did that, we built so much momentum. And then we had the sales team, the CSM teams, the solutions consulting teams share those wins and play it back to the rest of the company. And that basically won a lot of hearts and minds because it wasn't just coming from the partnerships team. That was part of it. But then we also had all the different cross functional teams that were involved in that process chime in and evangelize for us about how great the partner value add was. And the end result is you see partners that we were working with go from literally one employee to 45 employees, one employee to 17 employees, right? And over again, you just saw this ideal partner profile work out really well because, again, we operated in the trenches, we got the proof points, and then we had the cross functional teams evangelize it. And so basically, it caught on very quickly in terms of winning people over.
Wow. I mean, that makes so much sense, and it's just obviously so powerful when you're not the only one delivering a message. I think a lot of folks listening, I know myself personally, have been in the kind of like just solo partner person or just a solo team over here on the side, kind of standing on a soapbox, delivering the message of like partnerships are so great because of X, Y, and Z. But to have the other teams doing that, I think is super powerful. I imagine one of the challenges or one of the kind of like in people's heads right now questions is like, yeah, that sounds fantastic, but how did you even get to the point to getting those other cross-functional teams to kind of like let you play in their sandbox? You know what I mean?
That's a great question. And what you have to do is you really have to lean in and be willing to do the work. So, one of the things I said right off the bat is I will give you the easy button, meaning you press that button, I will step in and build an entire customized deck for you, for your customers, outlining the partner value proposition specifically to them. And I'll work with the partner to gather proof points that are relevant to their industry, function, use case. And what I'm doing for you as a cross-functional team member is I'm making it really easy for you to go sell the partner services because I'll do it for you. And all you have to do is tap me on the shoulder. I'll slot in. We'll go win it. And then once you see the pattern of success and you also see how it actually operates in the field, you can replicate that on your side without having to get me involved. But it's so important to lead in at the front as a partnerships person to show what good looks like so that other people can start to do it with you.
That makes sense. I mean, one could say that you treated your internal partners just like you would your external partners and just kind of walked them, handheld them both through the actions you needed them to take, but also through the value that it would provide for them.
Yeah, and I would say it's a two-way street too, because sometimes they had feedback about what could be improved, and I take that feedback with my team and improve with them. So it's not just a one-way street either. It's definitely we all work together as one team. But I would say absolutely. And as an example, to your point about internal versus external to partners, with our partners, we offered something similar. We would say, walk me through your deck and I will help you improve it. Like literally, I will help you build the deck, not just give you feedback. I will move around the design. I will, help you with the content and the copy, the layout, the thought process, the positioning. So when you lean in that heavily, people go with that momentum. And then when you win together, they buy in even more. And then you start to get acceleration from them.
I love that. I know you're a huge fan of Gamma, by the way, that AI that can build decks. Did you use it for some of those decks?
I did. Shout out to Grant. I will say in the beginning, actually, we started on Google Slides. And then over time, we realized Gamma was incredibly productive. So now the majority of it is done on Gamma. And then we encourage our partners to use Gamma to speed up the proposal process with the customers. And we've seen huge improvements on that. I think the most eye opening was in one case, I saw proposals taking about a week to come back. And with Gamma, you could do it within 1 hour, fully customized, personalized to their brand, logo, pain points. And then the other beautiful thing is now with the call recording, AI native software, you can basically use that to ingest and inform the Gamma proposal output as well.
What a time to be alive. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you. I mean, that was great. I think that that's a lot one that a lot of people are going to take back and really try, I hope to implement. Because honestly, I don't see any better way to do it than the way that you described to really win over those hearts and minds internally. And the hearts and minds internally is probably one of the biggest challenges of building a successful partner program. Because otherwise, you're just constantly, on an island, and we all know how that ultimately ends. So thank you for sharing that one. So let's jump to the other side. I'm sure this is also not a short list of things you've tried that blew up in your face over all of those many years in programs. But if there's one kind of thing that you would like to share with the audience, maybe it's one that wasn't so obvious, right? It sounded and
Mm.
seemed at face value like it would be great and work really well and pay tons of dividends, and it really didn't work. And this was just a big eye-opening experience for you in your career.
How much time do you have? I've had many failures along the way. And I share this with a lot of companies and folks that I work with now because what I try to explain to them is if you aren't taught the principles and the frameworks to do it correctly, you end up basically learning by experimentation and doing, and you can fail a lot along the way. That was my experience. And it took a lot of mentorship from amazing leaders and also just learning through experiences over time about what worked and what didn't. And so I always want to help people avoid that process that I went through over the 20 years. And so one of the more painful lessons I learned was more is not better. And nowadays, this is probably more agreed upon and common to surface amongst the partner community. But back then, when I was first starting out, that wasn't really necessarily known to me. I just thought, well, gosh, if we have this gigantic ecosystem, surely everything will be good and it'll take care of itself. And the answer is much more nuanced than that. You can have a large ecosystem and it can be successful, but the key things to think about are, is that the right strategy to solve for the customer journey and pain today based on the maturity of the company and also the maturity of your partners, and also whether or not you can actually resource allocate effectively in a large ecosystem format, right? Do you have the resources in terms of operations, headcount, the way you're going to support it with AI now, potentially as an example? Those are all important things to really think about as you architect the strategy. And then, more importantly than anything, do you really need the long tail of this huge ecosystem to go create a really great customer experience? And that is highly dependent on the company you work within. So, within the specific company that I worked at, it didn't make sense to have just this massive ecosystem of onboarding every partner that was interested. We tried that and it didn't work out really well. We found the Pareto principle did apply. The top, call it roughly 20% produce the majority of the outcomes. And so we narrowed it down to that partner ecosystem after the fact. But of course, as you can imagine, that's not a very pleasant process to have to go through that in terms of cutting partners, renegotiating tiers, et cetera. And so you want to avoid that pain as much as you can early on versus having to go through the, reactive process that we went through later.
Yeah, that I mean that I think a lot of folks learn the hard way. Either if they're not native to partnerships, and they just assume, as with all kind of things, go to market, more is better, and just stuff more stuff in the top of the funnel, and you'll have more coming out the bottom. Um, but obviously, partnerships is a much more complicated relationship to manage than just a marketing or sales blast, or life cycle. But I think also the challenge there is I would imagine a lot of folks are getting pressure, right, from the folks they report to, call it the CEO, the CRO, who only think in that kind of like more in the top of the funnel perspective. And they're like, hey, how many partners did we sign this week, right? Because they don't know how partnerships works. If the partner person can't say with complete confidence that we don't need to do the 80/20. So that's good. That's helpful to know that kind of across all of your programs that was still consistent. I have a follow-up question though. This is something that's really been I've been thinking through a lot personally lately, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it, which is I think everyone's kind of familiar with the 80/20 rule, and they've somewhat resigned themselves to that being the case when it comes to partners. Do you think that that is a law of partnerships, or do you think that that is a outcome based on limited resources that most partnerships teams have, and therefore that,
Hmm,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
hmm.
should there be an ability to drive more value from that call it long tail 80%, but because partnerships are so involved to like actually make a partnership successful and active, it just kind of ends up being like there's typically only enough resources for that top 20%. Does that make sense?
I think that percentage can vary company to company, and especially now, given the advances with AI, enabling us to do so much more productivity-wise than before. So that percentage probably could shift, pretty dramatically now, and I think it really depends on how the program is designed. There be some percentage always probably of some unproductive partners versus
Sure.
productive? Yeah, definitely some blend, and that will just be a different shift as we get more AI involvement. That's what I think will happen. But it's really exciting because now with AI, maybe that next tranche of call it like the 20 to 40%, you might be able to activate and make more successful. And
Mhm.
that's the exciting thing about AI is you suddenly can do that work potentially that you were constrained by before with regards to traditional headcount or MDF or something else, right? And so personally, that's what I'm looking forward to most to see play out. But I get really excited about that in terms of the future of partnerships. Also, because partnerships tend to be really under resourced. I think we all feel that and have experienced it. And to be able to think about how AI can augment what we do as like a superpower that can be exponential, that's what I'm really excited about personally for a lot of the partner leaders out there.
Me too, obviously, si since we're building the tool to do it. But yeah, I agree. I think uh, technology will get us there a lot faster than headcount. Or let me rephrase. We'll get the technology a lot sooner than we'll get the headcount at this point. That's awesome. All right. Last but not least, what are some other maybe 2 to 3 kinda, I guess, unlocks to your partnership career that you just honestly wish you knew earlier in it?
The first one, if someone had told me early in my career would have been massively more successful. I'm convinced. So I want to share this as much as I can, even though you're going to hear it from me on every single podcast over and over again. And it is you really want to make sure you learn about first principles thinking when you build partner strategies. And, I'll give you an example of a core principle that really matters, which is being super customer centric. And when I talk to a lot of partner leaders and, I've consulted and coached many people on this, I'm always surprised by how many have not interacted with a customer, right? They're used to working with a partner. On the first 30 days, yeah, I met my 10 partners that I'm supposed to. And well, how many customers you met? I never meet customers. What do you mean? And so like I would recommend go meet the customers, really understand what you're solving for, understand what they're going through, and then you'll understand how partners can help them. So this is a principle I always really deeply emphasize. That's a really big one that will really help your partnership career level up into a strategic one over time. The second big one, especially as you get to the more mature stage of partnerships, call it past like partner market fit, is you really have to remember to get to scale it is everyone's job in the company to get behind partnerships, and it's your job as a partner leader to get them to see the value of partners and to want to cross-functionally work with you as one team to make partnerships a huge success. And what I mean by this is, for example, you want to have the operating cadence and rigor to work with each of those cross-functional teams to make sure you understand their goals, their success metrics, what they're working on, and how partnerships can align and make them successful and vice versa, right? Because if you try to build like a partner portal without ops support or biz tech, it's going to be really hard. Like, could you do it? Yes. Is it going to be the best possible outcome? Probably not. So the key is you really got to make sure you get those teams aligned working with you. You understand what you're prioritizing, or you're not. That's okay too. Like you might say, we just cannot do that this quarter. Let's push it out. But this way, you start getting people to swim in the same direction with you as one team. And that's when you really see the monumental gains in the ecosystem where everyone is contributing to partnerships actively and supporting it together.
Yeah, I would completely agree with those, and it's really funny you mentioned them. My first VP of partnerships, guy named Ryan Murden, did both of those things really well, and that's what he taught me, to just totally understand the customer and where their pains are. And look, at the end of the day, if you do so, you are going to not only understand who you should be partnering with, but you're also going to unearth a ton of opportunities to drive value for partners and to send them business. And as we all know, there is absolutely no better way to, get a partnership roaring than by giving value first. And then the second piece, the internal partnerships. I mean, I feel like that's my kind of soapbox. That's my drum that I just keep beating that nobody very few people seem to really do is probably those two things. I think those really are the two biggest opportunities. Like, spend as much time on your internal alignment, your internal partnerships, and getting that internal buy-in. You will go so much faster because you're building a business within a business. You just need all those people, even if you don't want to. Like, there's just no two ways around it unless you want to also be creating all of your own enablement materials and building your own integrations and creating your
Mhm.
own co-marketing. And it's just not feasible. It's not realistic. So you're just kind of kneecapping yourself if you don't do both of those things, quite frankly. So Nelson, just action-packed conversation. Thank you so much for sharing these incredible insights with the audience. And for anybody that doesn't know, Nelson has created what I consider to be the definitive set of kind of templates for any and all activities that you need to do within a partner program, both internally and externally. On his website, partnerprinciples.com. I send people there all the time. Uh, Not trying to make it a sales pitch, but I think this would be hugely valuable to people. Nelson, can you give just a few examples of what some of the templates are that you have created for partner teams?
Yeah. So there's over 50 templates. It's over 900 slides. It is basically my life's work on templates. And the reason I built it is because having built partner programs in 0 to 1 5 times, what I found is I kept recreating the same things in terms of assets around strategy, recruitment, training over and over again. And so I wanted to distill those principles and frameworks into slides so that people can one learn it and then also be able to play it back to their partners, cross-functional teams, customers, etc. So I want to save you that pain of having to build a strategy deck for like 4 weeks in a row and give up your weekends to do it, right? As an example. And I'm really passionate about that so that people can get to working on their core initiatives around driving partner revenue, net retention, acquisition, etc., and not be spending time on slideware. So that was really the intent behind it. And hopefully it helps everyone out there.
Well, I've seen a few of them, and I can validate that they would have made my life a lot easier as I was building my partner program. So, highly recommend everyone checks out partnerprinciples.com. Nelson also has a phenomenal newsletter that he puts out that I still learn things from all the time. So, Nelson, just thank you so much. So great to chat.
Yeah, happy to help out. And always good to see you, Greg. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me.